Still no movement out of the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals concerning Illinois' gun and magazine ban on Second Amendment grounds, but today's the day that the issue of vagueness will be argued in front of the Southern District's federal court judge, Stephen McGlynn, the same judge who gave a preliminary injunction earlier this year against the state law on Second Amendment grounds. That's currently being dealt with by the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop. It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. Want to remind you to follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. Now, today I will be in the courtroom, and I'll do what I can to live tweet out what's being discussed in the Southern District for today's hearing on the vagueness challenges. So we'll touch on that here in a moment, because state police did indeed respond to some of the motions here that are being made back in the Southern District. While we're still waiting on the Second Amendment issues in the Seventh Circuit Appeals Court, the case is back in the Southern District because attorney Thomas Magg brought that case forward on vagueness grounds. So we'll touch on that here in just a moment. But other big news yesterday, you had the Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in the magazine ban challenge issue their ruling. And this has been rather fascinating. If you follow Four Boxes Diner, Mark Smith's really broken down what's happened here in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And as far as, the district court granting an injunction with a stay on banning magazines, saying that that's unconstitutional, but giving the states the opportunity to go to the appeals court. Then the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals quickly took it, and instead of doing a three-judge panel, they did a non-banc panel, and they came out with their ruling yesterday. And here it is. It says filed, just looking at the docket here, order for publication. You've got judges essentially ordering one way and dissent going the other way. So they essentially granted an emergency partial stay pending appeal for the state to put a stay on the lower court's ruling that the gun and that the magazine ban in California is unconstitutional. So that's something that's, of course, is across the country, but that case is also something that plaintiffs in Illinois' challenge have asked for the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals to recognize, and you can see that in the docket entry for the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. They asked earlier this month for the judges in the Ninth and the Seventh Circuit to look at what's going on in the Ninth Circuit. So we'll be seeing how that exactly plays out, but we're still waiting on the Seventh Circuit to issue their ruling for the Illinois case. But again, today is the day that you've got the hearing that's going to be happening for the vagueness issues in the Southern District with Judge Stephen McGlynn. That's going to be in East St. Louis, 1:30 this afternoon at the federal court. And this is a hearing on a motion for summary judgment on vagueness grounds. A motion for summary judgment on vagueness grounds. That's fascinating because that could be, based on the merits. And so we'll see how that plays out. But yesterday you had Illinois State Police, by way of the defense of the Protect Illinois Communities Act, they did indeed issue their kind of response, so to speak. We'll just take a look at this briefly here. Some of the overview of what state police have to say leading up to today's hearing. They talk about the background of how we got to this point. Then looking at just some of the bullet points, the summary of the testimony. They say plaintiffs' declarants are able to understand and apply the Protect Illinois Community Act's restrictions on magazine capacities. Plaintiffs' declarants understand and apply PICA's magazine capacity limits in the real world, they argue, and then they go through and lay them more. So we're going to hear a lot of this, I imagine, in court today, and I'll be tweeting out a lot of the oral arguments as it plays out. But they say plaintiffs' declarants make clear that PICA's definition of assault weapon is not unconstitutionally vague, they say. They also go on to, and this is from the Illinois State Police, filed to the federal court. The conclusion is Director Kelly respectfully requests the court grant his motion to supplement his response to the Langley plaintiff's preliminary motion for summary judgment with the disposition of transcripts and exhibits attached as part of Group A and B and supplemental declarations attached in Exhibit C. And it's hundreds of pages of different types of supplemental testimony that they want to provide. So while you've got all this at play here, you've got gun rights groups saying that, listen, you can have all the gun control laws you want, but it doesn't appear to be working. Just look at the state of crime in Chicago. Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about that last night at a forum at the University of Chicago, where he addressed a direct question about, is there evidence that gun laws don't work because of the increased crime in Chicago?
Here's what it's evidence of. We need national gun safety laws. We need a ban on assault weapons nationally. We need to have, switches banned nationally. 60%, there is real statistics out there that you can look at. 60% of the violent crimes committed with guns in the city of Chicago were committed with guns that came from Indiana, because they don't have any gun safety laws, really. And for goodness sakes, Florida, where everybody's wearing you can wear a gun anywhere in Florida in the open. I mean, literally, they don't allow those stickers on the doors in buildings that say you can't bring a gun in here. You're literally prohibiting people from bringing a gun somewhere. So you could be, in the grocery store and, 17 people are walking around with a handgun. And by the way, you've seen this in the Capitol in Wisconsin and in Michigan, where people are allowed to carry AR-15s at the Capitol, right? That's allowed. So we need national reform. And we've done what we can do. There's more that we could do, but we've done the things that we've done in the state of Illinois because we think it will make a difference. But it's false to say that if there's gun violence in Chicago, it means that all of that is a failure. What it means is guns are pouring in from outside. Every state around us is a Republican-controlled state. Kentucky has a Democratic governor, but I believe, supermajority Republican legislature. Wisconsin, same thing. So these are Republican states, and there's not a lot that we can do from Illinois to affect that. But at the national level, Joe Biden is in favor of, for example, a ban on assault weapons, and I've talked to him directly about how we could accomplish that.
I don't know, though, if that necessarily addresses the question directly about increased crime in a state like Illinois, in a city like Chicago, where you've got more gun violence. That's violent crime, I should say. That's being reported from armed robberies to shootings and gang activity and so on. Is it more about the policies that Illinois has in place that really are not allowing for economic prosperity, for instance? Is that something else that's more at the core? Because you don't see the level of violent crime in what he called surrounding Republican states. You might see it in more urban areas, but what does that say about the policies in those urban areas? So I think that there's more of a conversation that needs to be had about that. But again, Governor J.B. Pritzker sharing his thoughts last night at a forum about the question of whether or not evidence shows that more gun laws do not keep people safe as we see violent crime continue in Chicago. We'll be down in court October 11th. That's today. Southern District of Illinois on the vagueness grounds. And don't forget, you've got the Fifth Amendment argument that could still come out. So Attorney Thomas Magg has said that he will bring that out if indeed he needs to try to get an injunction on this law. All right, follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Just search Bishop On Air, and we can connect that.